This video has been sponsored today by BetterHelp, an incredible online service that specialises in connecting you with any personalised therapist or counsellor wherever you want to be, outdoors or at home. It's completely affordable, you can be anonymous if you want to, you can use text or video chat or phone calls, and if your money is pretty tight, you can actually get financial aid from them if you qualify. Life is an extremely heavy thing a lot of the time, and there's absolutely no shame in admitting that you need help or at least somebody to talk to. And speaking as somebody who has been down this road and is even on depression medication as we speak, I'm immensely happy that this is a service that exists and that I'm in a position where I can share it with enough of you as possible and hopefully help out a couple of you that feel like you could really benefit from it. So thank you so much BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. To start the conversation, head straight into the link in the description below and please enjoy this video for Bandicoot Month. Greetings and salutations, my beautiful people, and welcome back to Bandicoot Month, the only time of the year where it's completely acceptable to shove your granny's priceless jewellery up your ass. With the Insane trilogy coming out last year and the controls and physics being tweaked to make it more snappy, responsive and consistent over all three original Crash games, there was a lot of controversy during its release because journalists forgot to put their nappies on and lost their dummies before dying a few times and complaining about how difficult the game was, even going as far as to compare the game to Dark Souls, which will never not be funny. Although, where I do find it hilarious to compare a platform where you die a couple of times to something like Dark Souls, when one of these games has a dragon with a ribcage for a mouth and the other features a jacked up koala with tiny legs, I can't deny that Crash Bandicoot in its heyday and even nowadays has a few levels that will really fucking get to you, especially if you're a kid getting into 3D platformers for the first time or even adults that know the series inside and out. So I wanted to celebrate that in today's video. Yes, I went through Crash Bandicoot 1, 2 and 3 in their entirety all over again so that I could give you what I think are the 10 hardest levels in the original Crash trilogy. But let's go over a few ground rules before we start. Firstly, yes, I am doing the Insane editions of these games on PS4 just to keep up to date and relevant, and also I think some of the difficulty in these stages may be due to differences between the original games and the PS4 remasters, so please keep that in mind. Secondly, I'm going to try and stick to one level per theme in all of the games. So for instance, if I stuck a polar bear riding sequence on this list, I can't then stick another polar bear riding sequence on this list, and if I stick an Egyptian tomb level, I then can't put another Egyptian tomb level, etc, etc, etc. Thirdly, I'm not including any bosses. They're bosses, not levels. Fourthly, please remember and consider that this is my opinion on my video. Yes, you may not have any trouble with these levels, but I personally do, and vice versa. You might find levels that are impossible, but I find a total breeze. And fifthly, I am going to be judging all of these levels on their difficulty based on you playing them regularly, just going to get the crystals or the gems, and that's it. Taking your time and just trying to play the stage normally, because if we include time trial difficulty into this, every single fucking stage in the entire series is going to be on this list. I'm going to start off with Deep Trouble from Crash 3. I'm one of the few people who actually really like the water stages in Crash 3. I find them a great change of pace, I love being able to move freely, and the gameplay still revolves around smashing boxes and getting to the end of the stage, so I'm cool with it. Almost as cool as Crash when he's in the water, which is probably quite cold. I don't find this level particularly punishing, I suppose, but for a water stage with the slightly more sensitive water controls for the Insane edition, it is a little harder than before, and the main things that make me lose Aku Aku or die constantly are these fucking propellers. While these things run, they suck you towards them, and if you touch the whirlwind at all, you take damage. Not the propeller itself, just the whirlwind. This is already a little bit annoying, but what makes it 10 times worse is when you throw in a pufferfish that moves up and down and can kill you in one touch if they blow themselves up, right next to a propeller, and then another fucking propeller going off at a different time right next to it. By the way, as this stage is in water, you can never truly remain still in one place, meaning you're constantly fighting against currents and trying to time your swing perfectly through the whirlwinds while either safely trying to kill the pufferfish at the right time or get around it. It's way harder than it sounds and looks, and even better, once you reach the end of the level, you won't have the gem or the coloured gem, so you have to activate this crate to open a secret route back at the halfway point of the level, which means going back through the level again with different timings of the whirlwinds, and any death means you go back to the last checkpoint crate you smashed when you were still trying to beat the level normally, meaning going through all of this over again, hitting all the boxes. The secret route itself isn't too easy either. Basically, Deep Trouble is exactly that. Deep bloody trouble indeed. Not as much trouble as Cortex Power from Crash 1 though. Yes, didn't take long for Crash 1 to appear, did it? And that's because it probably has the most challenging gameplay as a whole throughout all of the Crash games, purely because of Paducah's limited moveset. All you do is run, spin, and and jump, and of course, jump with less hang time in the air compared to the PS1 version of the game, which I do prefer immensely, but it still makes things a little tricky in the Insane Edition sometimes, especially in a stage where you don't just have branching routes, but branching routes on top of branching routes. It's not impossible to get the layout in your head, but what is difficult is getting all the boxes on one end of the stage and then going against the damn camera. The obstacles to get around while going backwards aren't too easy to avoid either. Invincible flying spiky things, piping hot pipes with pipes flying out and the electricity flying out of the top, and plenty of one-hit kill snot that you need to avoid with all the dropping platforms and moving platforms all fighting against each other. If you didn't think Cortex had any power before, well, Cortex power certainly shows you how much power Cortex really has in his upper cortex of power. Here's another Crash 1 stage for you, Toxic Waste. It looks rather similar to Cortex power, doesn't it?
Stop saying Cortex power!
I will when I die.
But I can assure you this is far from the case. This stage has a cameraman that heard Crash 1 was originally called Sonic's Arse Game and thought he would be getting involved with some bare-naked Sonic butt action, but then saw it was about a Bandicoot instead and thought, oh fuck me, that's even better, and stuck the camera as far up Crash's arse as he could. Depth perception is your biggest foe in Toxic Waste. The level design and box breaking is as easy as it could possibly be in concept. It's straight, simple, and only with a few gaps in the terrain to fall down. But those barrels hurtling towards you, just you try telling me where they are relative to Crash, because I can't tell to save my life. The rolling ones aren't too awful, but once the bouncing ones get involved, fucked if I know where to position myself. The shadows don't even help. I don't know whether to stop, run back, or pancake! The worst thing about all of this though isn't the amount of deaths you may accrue on your way to the exit, but this is one of the few coloured gem stages in the Insane Edition of Crash 1, where the only way to get the gem is to break every single box and reach the end without dying a single time. I know the original game had this for every single stage, but with the swifter jumping keeping you in the air for shorter time periods, it's a little trickier just trying to jump over the rolling barrels, especially while going uphill. This is definitely harder than the original Crash, and worthy of a spot on my list of levels that fill my pants full of toxic waste. Speaking of toxic waste, do you want to see a lot of brown? How about Digging It from Crash 2? I haven't seen this much brown since I looked inside Uncle Vernon's laundry basket. When I started this video, I had a set idea of the names of some of the levels that immediately sprung to my mind when I think of difficulty in Crash Bandicoot, and Digging It was not one of those stages. Until I decided to replay it for this video. The main part of the stage itself throws you for a loop enough as it is. These unpredictable random bomb-spitting plants can fuck off, as can those moments when you need to get through being chased by a seriously pissed off bee. Oh, and that part where you've got to avoid the bombs while getting through differently timed electric gates, that bit can fuck off too. I find it tricky enough just getting through these parts normally, but then going after the gem is where I really start to lose it. Not only have you got to reach the no-death bonus platform route, well, without dying, and get introduced with a lovely welcome gift, but then after you're done with that death route, like in Cortex Power, you need to go against a camera that is not interested at all in showing you what's coming up in front of you. Yes, through all of those electric gates, while dealing with the very fast, incredibly pissed off bee that requires less than a second to react, spin away or else turn you into a DeviantArt post, while dealing with not seeing these fucking mines blowing you up and making you lose control for vital seconds, getting you killed, and while knowing that if you die, you go back to whatever fucking checkpoint you were stuck at before. Yes, even the later stage of this very same bee theme of Crash 2, behaving, isn't as hard as this.
Oh, make yourself useful and pollinate those fucking bushes!
So yeah, in conclusion, Digging It can dig its own grave, crawl in it and die. But not as much as Cold Hard Crash from Paducah 2 Gringotts Steakhouse. This is not only one of the longest stages in the entirety of Crash 2 just from trying to get from start to end, and features some of the trickier ice physics-based platforming in the game, and some pretty tricky rolling wheel and enemy placement to deal with, but it also has probably the worst death route in any Crash game. A route so infamous that there's even a big load of metal crates in the middle of it shaped like a big middle finger right at you. And yes, even fake Crash jumps in and makes fun of you right outside the finger as well. They knew what a pain in the ass this part of the game was. In order to not only get the death route gem but also the main gem, here's what you do. Get through the stage without dying, go past the death route platform because if you go on it you'll miss out the gem, and smash every other box in the side-scrolling part of the level. Once this is done, head all the way back to the death route platform without dying and then enter the slipperiest hellhole of ice, bottomless pits, differently timed crushing logs and nitro crates in the most awkward, horrible places while you deal with the ice physics. By the way, once you get through all of this, you find an exclamation crate right at the end of the death route. Hit this to activate more boxes to break near the beginning of the death route and start the torturous process all over again. You gotta go back through all of this shit and then back through one more time. And if you should fall down this hole at the end of the route before hitting the exclamation crate, which is very easy to do since sliding past the crushing logs on the ice is the easiest way to get past them, you'll overshoot the stage, fall down and need to restart all over again because you missed the chance to get the gem. Even better than this, Piston It Away from Crash 2 does the same kind of thing, but even harder if you ask me. Thanks so much for that. Paducah. At least in Cold Hard Crash you can cheese this section with Aku Aku sacrifices or going invincible, but here, Where do I start? Get through the stage without dying to access the death platform. Don't go onto the death platform, otherwise you'll miss out on all the bonus crates and other level crates for the box gem. Then once you hit this specific point of the normal stage, run all the way back to the death platform while trying to avoid these fucking switches that fire shrinking rays at you that will kill you. And even to this day, I have no clue how to safely avoid this one without Aku Aku. And then, oh, I forgot. You see this enemy here? The one that you will most likely naturally kill on your way through the stage? You need this enemy to bounce off of in order to get back over this impossible to access wall. If you kill it on the way through the normal stage, you can't reach the death platform again and therefore get the gem. Or you could just die against this enemy by mistake and then fuck up your chance to reach the platform at all in the first place. Then there's the death route itself, which isn't too bad but requires extremely quick reflexes and good position and timing across these bouncy floating electric nightmares. Cold Hard Crash may be difficult, but at least it isn't cryptic. It's pretty self-explanatory in which order you need to do things, but here, this is just ridiculous. But as ridiculous as Area 51 in Crash 3? I don't think so. The motorcycle stages as a whole I really enjoy, but they aren't my favourite parts in Crash 3, and despite it feeling very similar to the original game, N-Sane's motorcycle controls are a little bit stiffer and take a tiny bit of time to get the hang of. Once you do, zipping past other races and hitting boxes is great fun. But how about you try doing it in the dark with UFOs that can fly over you, with police cars flying at you instead of just being parked on the road, while not trying to only steer yourself into the boxes but also do it ahead of time because you're in the dark and can't see what boxes are coming up, meaning not being able to steer yourself into the boxes fast enough because of the slightly stiff movement? Yeah, aliens, can you do me a favour? When you take Crash, probe him! Easily my least favourite motorcycle stage in Crash 3, Area 51 gives you a wide road but so little breathing room to actually hit all the boxes or even just race normally due to how jagged and sudden the UFOs like to move, and how they like to smack you into things while you're just trying to enjoy your video game for little kids all about an orange rat on a bike. You don't know if you should jump on the ramps or not, which direction you should overtake the UFOs, where the cars will come from, and therefore where you need to be for the next row of boxes. Damn it. And the only thing I can think of in Crash 3 I dislike more than this is Hot Cocoa. Now for this level's difficulty, it's entirely down to the Insane Trilogy's fault, and its fault for one fucking reason. The controls of the jet ski aren't that good. What used to be tight, precise, and easy to manage while driving at high speeds, keeping the consistency with the tight running and jumping platforming gameplay, is now inaccurate, wiggly, and no matter what direction you turn, doesn't steer the jet ski immediately, but instead realistically moves the jet ski in the desired direction, but you're left to water physics on how much the jet ski will actually skim across the water before locking the turn in. I don't like this change, but it's absolutely fine for most of the game despite being worse than the PS1 version. When you're going relatively fast and don't have many hazards to slip in and out of, it's completely tolerable. But when you get thrown into a huge open level filled with boxes hidden within walls of mines and in the air surrounded by nitro crates,
you'll need some fucking hot cocoa by the end of it!
No matter how slowly I approach a ramp and how straight I make myself beforehand, there's an 80% chance I'll drive straight into the nitro crate or clip it so slightly off to the side that I actually don't understand why I blew up. And if you want to say, okay, but the point of the level is to find the nitro crate explosion box to destroy all of them and make hitting the rest of the boxes much easier, fair enough. But that doesn't make the mines go anywhere, does it? Look at this here, it's ridiculous. In fact, no, okay, I know I said at the beginning of this video that I'm gonna stick to a rule of not using any time trial difficulty as a factor, but you know, you need to understand exactly how annoying this is. So here's a clip from my Insane Trilogy review.
I didn't mind the controls too much when you were just trying to get a crystal or a gem, but getting the fucking relic in the Hot Cocoa stage with its open-ended level design and bullshit box placement on other ends of the fucking stage, literal centimeters away from fucking death traps all of the time, is made a million times harder than it was in the original when you take away the less slippy and more responsive controls. Every single fucking time you want to jump over a fucking ramp, you need to be damn sure that you jump as straight as an arrow over that shit, because otherwise you slip and slide all over the damn place and hit nitro crates in the air.
I don't like it.
But I think I'd take that any day over the high road from Crash 1. Yeah, this level can take the fucking high road. This, like Hot Cocoa, has been made infinitely trickier with the new controls, and I feel like I have to keep saying this so you don't think I'm a hypocrite. Yes, I love the new running and jumping controls in the Insane Trilogy, but that still doesn't mean I'm going to ignore how much they can change the execution of a stage that is actually a bit easier on the original game. The high road is the second endless bridge over constant bottomless pits in Crash 1, and because of that, it basically just turns up the original concept of the level to shit hundred and fuck. You have more pits, more unstable platforms you can't spend more than a second on, more gaps you need to land on while avoiding pigs, more fake platforms that just fall apart the second you touch them, and more icy platforms that you don't only slip on but need to jump off at the end in absolute pixel perfection in order to reach the next platform ahead of you. With the Insane controls requiring the absolute perfect timing in order to make it across regular jumping gaps due to the shorter airtime and jump arc, this is tricky enough. But the other main gimmick of this stage is found with the tortoises you need to bounce on to get across the bigger gaps. Not only can these bastards hurt you if you don't land perfectly next to them while being far enough away from them so that you don't touch them, which also spins them away, making it impossible to move forward, but if you don't bounce on them as they walk off as far as possible to the edge of the platform they are on, you will not make the jump to the next platform once you bounce on them. It's so fucking specific on the timing and positioning in order for you to successfully use the tortoises, it's almost unfair. And I'm not talking about breaking the stage by jumping on the ropes on the side, skipping the entire platforming challenge. I'm talking about doing it the designed and intended way. It's brutal on occasion, and the checkpoints aren't very frequent, making things worse. Even the bonus stage isn't too easy. What's usually an affair of just hitting a few boxes and leaving is changed into a game of figuring out which boxes to leave behind as a bridge while you jump back and forth over a huge bottomless pit without falling, hitting every box on the trip across and back about 3 different times.
Well, the high road may be a bastard of a stage for sure, but that doesn't compare to the biggest bastard of all bastard stages. Yeah, we're going there. In fact, if you clicked on this video and you know me, you probably saw this coming a mile off and you knew this was going to be my hardest level in all of Crash, the original trilogy. Yeah, we're talking Stormy Ascent, baby.
A level so difficult for Crash Bandicoot standards at least that I made an entire video dedicated to it when it came out as free DLC. This level has it all. It's very long, it has extremely fast-paced challenges over disappearing platforms. All of your short jump arcs can barely make it across all these spikes. It has timing challenges with obstacles that don't only change their timings over instant death traps but also trick you and force you to think twice about what you're doing in the middle of a bottomless pit. It has moments where you need to jump at the very last minute followed by moments you need to jump early. It has moments of platforms floating and twisting around each other that you have to navigate while scientists throw grape Fanta at you, which sucks because grape Fanta is fucking tasty and it's a big waste. How about those moments you need to bounce off of moving birds onto more moving platforms going around spikes? Basically, I really hope you're hungry because this level is hell-bent on serving you on a pike freshly roasted bandicoot scrote. And this shit would be bad enough, but then you're given undoubtedly the hardest bonus stage in the entire game, this Brio bonus stage, that is basically a platforming puzzle stage where you're constantly tricked, like with needing to smash boxes above your head with a breakable bounce box, but don't hit all of them, otherwise you can't get over to the top part of the level. You need to put yourself in near-death situations just to progress. It tricks you with a hidden TNT crate off of the screen that you can spin, and it likes to clip your body with bouncing steel boxes to crush you in one hit when you've already hit every single damn box and need to work it out all over again.
God damn it, Crash! Torn a Bandicoot and a huge breach isn't worth this much hassle!
The thing is though, I actually think this level is fantastically designed. It's challenging as all hell for sure, but everything here is totally doable and reactionary. It isn't impossible whatsoever for you to do all of this on your first try. It's just very, very tough, and if you aren't a fan of the insane controls and how they work, you will hate this. Seriously, there are parts where you need to jump again the very second your feet hit the floor after the previous jump, and even then you will barely make a gap. I would go on more about how tricky this entire level is, but I mean, I did do an entire video dedicated to its bullshit. Fucking come on!
And that's all I have to say. Those are my 10 hardest levels from the original Crash games in the Insane trilogy. And right now, I need to fucking calm down and not get so wound up, so I think I'm going to play more Crash. Yeah, that'll calm me down. I think I might get all the platinum relics in Crash Team Racing. That's very relaxing. If it's your birthday today while watching this video, happy friggin' birthday to you. Please remember to stay beautiful. And I suppose you could say that this video featured some of the most insane levels in Crash.
Thank you so much for watching this video on my 10 hardest levels from the Insane trilogy, everybody, and special thanks to everybody on the screen right now that has helped support this channel via Patreon and all of YouTube's nonsense that they've been doing with demonetization and adpocalypse stuff. You know who you are. Thank you very much for all of your support. And special thanks to the top tier supporters: Omar Matu, Basil, Patrick Ferguson, Robert Alamsha, I Have a Portal Gun, Gamer Man, Matthew Hubble, Papa Bernie, Chumbawamba, Cyberpunk Symphony, Star Eye Relance J, Sakari, The Pinkinator, Binary Code, Exopaz, Thomas Olson, Daniel Leon, Jane Ives, Mitchell Reed, A.D. Thornton Smith, Oblivion Rising, Ellen Rilpley, Kirsten B, QB, Nathan Young, and Nicole Gunara. Thank you so much, every single one of you.